from inside in a while. Um, just thought I'd talk a little bit. I was thinking of doing this as a random thoughts, but figured I'd do it as a red eye raw. Just because I didn't want to have to edit. I already got all my stuff, my computer shut down and shit for the night. I was just like, fuck it, I'll just do it as a red eye raw. And that's through, I mean, everybody and their grandmothers already talked about this, but YouTube is going to start doing some new bullshit stuff with AI to try and verify your age. And if they deem that you're under 18, then I think that's fucking terrible. Because I think internet anonymity is actually one of the most important things when it comes to online stuff. Because, again, granted, as a whole, right, big picture, I think the internet was bad for society in a lot of ways, right? And culturally, especially with things like social media. Um, but nevertheless, big picture, that's the case. But it's already there. You can't really close up Pandora's box, without completely destroying any sort of server or anything. It's just not a feasible concept, right? Like, there's not really a way to go back to that. And so the way that there are good things that come from the internet too, right? Like communication, which again, double-edged sword. Like I said, I have a lot of my problems with it. But one of the things that the internet is really good for is getting opinions out there against the mainstream, right? And so having ID verification be on all these sites is kind of scary because, there's people that don't want to be censored, especially if they're in a country where it's illegal to say some of the things they're saying. Like, there's plenty of people who live in, like, sort of authoritarian, like, VPNs and stuff like that on the internet in order to say things they're not allowed to say in their country. And so that's why, that anonymity thing is important too, because again, if these people are now in a database, then they would get arrested. And again, it's only right now that we're not like that ourselves, right? Like in the US, it's kind of like the last place where you can't just get arrested for saying some shit. Like, and even then, depending on where you are in the US, it can be bullshit, right? But like, let me make sure we got live chat on, by the way. There we go. Because I had on top chat. But obviously, it's a fucking daunting prospect. And in addition to that, we've also got concerted censorship efforts going on. Bro, if this BS passes in the US, we're gonna have to watch Stephen Colbert for information, DNC rule for 50 years. I mean, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, is like with like that shit, like, them having all these laws in Europe and stuff, and like there are talks of people wanting to do shit like that here too. And it's all in the name of, oh, protect the children, which, fuck you, be a parent. Like, that's the part that's really frustrating, is it's always the think of the children bullshit that they use to manipulate you into trying to get people to agree with it, which is just pathetic because people don't watch their kids. They're like, oh, it's impossible. Well, then don't give them a fucking smartphone. Like, the thing is, these people like act like it's like impossible to completely to like it isn't, like, there's no shit that, kids get like exposed to, and parents don't want associating with friends whose parents don't hold the same values. And so, like, obviously, there's going to be a limit. Like, there's going to be a limit in what you can do. But it's bullshit that parents just like to completely skirt the possibility, or responsibility, rather, in order to just try and make laws to make it everyone else's problem. And, like, this is going on, like, while we got this going on with this stupid AI age verification nonsense, we've also got, like fucking payment processors telling people what they can and can't fucking buy. So, like, payment processors won't let people buy certain adult games on Steam. And it's like, say what you want about a lot of these games. A lot of them have some pretty controversial content. But at the same time, when people think that it's this big victory, they're fucking retarded. Because that's like, and again, people say slippery slope is a fallacy. No, it fucking isn't. You start telling people what they can't do in a fictional fucking video game. Like, there's this game called, I think, No Mercy, that, like, all the feminists acted like was this big win that they got taken off Steam. Looked like shit, honestly. There's way better games like that you could get on itch.io or fucking Newgrounds, even. So, like, it had a lot of the same thing. There's a lot of the games with those themes on those websites, so it's hardly it's hardly new. I mean, granted, it was a lot more violent in some of the portrayals, from what I understand. I never played it because I didn't care because it looked like shit. It had like shit graphics and stuff, but never looked into it really. But at the same time, people cheering for that getting pulled, they're just stupid because eventually, when people have a problem that when people have a problem with one thing, like it's a shifting goalpost, right? That's why you can't just say, "Oh, it's okay to censor this stuff I don't like," because you got to have a principled stance. Because if you don't, eventually it'll start taking over stuff you do like. That's just how it works. Payment processor crap is retribution for 1913. Yeah, let's give our entire economic system to a private corporation, bros. It'll work. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, I am very like again, I'm pretty libertarian pro capitalism, right? But at the same time, these companies aren't just regular companies operating in a free market. These are companies that have had government bailouts, government backing. They're kind of a quasi arm of the government with things like payment processors and certain search engines, even, and things like that. So it's just sort of a way that the government can do things without actually doing them. So they can skirt, violating like the First Amendment and stuff like that. Been a while, but I'll be here for a minute. And yeah, I 100% agree with the think of the children. It's the parents' job. Kids shouldn't be online for one. And also, there's YouTube Kids. Well, yeah, that's the thing is I don't think kids should be online, but I also think that it's the parents' responsibility to enforce that. And when you want to have freedom, you have to accept the danger of freedom. Like, I'd much rather have freedom than like fucking, controlled authoritarian bullshit. Like, it's like Patrick Henry said, right? Those who trade freedom for those who trade freedom for safety deserve neither, right? Or something to that effect. And those are wise words. It's ridiculous to think that like these concepts of safety, these are artificial safety, right? And it's funny to think that we're like free and civilized when our world itself is already like it's funny, like people are like, oh, we don't have slavery here. It's like, yeah, we just outsource it to the third world. We outsource it to China. We outsource it to India, all these other places. Like, the world we have is pretty fucked up. I plan on doing a whole random thoughts about how fucking dark and fucked up of a place the world is in general. And I have been pretty cynical and burnt out on politics, and I also plan to do a random thoughts on that. So it is hard for me to like get motivation, and that's part of, I think, the thing is to demoralize, right? Is they want to demoralize people into not wanting to do anything and not want to actually like take action or even speak up. So yeah, there's a lot of bullshit going on right now with that, which is the main thing I wanted to talk about here and just kind of express my opinion. Again, it's a lot of the same opinion you hear a lot of people have on this thing, so it's not like I'm saying anything new or groundbreaking. But I just thought I'd give my 2 cents because I have been thinking about it because there's a lot of bullshit going on. Bro, nothing even feels real anymore. It's gotten so bad with everything. Yeah, I agree. The everything is fucking nuts now. Like and the thing is, right? Like the problem is there are nuances and there are things that are double-edged sword, right? Like, here's the thing. I find myself defending AI a lot when dealing with fucking like annoying artists online, but I don't like AI still. Like, I think it's good to use for like thumbnails and art and shit posting, like shit like you're just making a stupid laugh. I think that can be fine. But at the same time, it can be used to fake videos, which could be like there's all sorts of scary ramifications with that, right? But like not just that, but like there's the fact that search engines now have AI overviews, which often get details wrong. And so, like, if that becomes the default that people are looking at for information, that's very easy to control the narrative through that AI. The Corbin video was a banger. Shit just embodied everything happening since June. Yeah. Yeah, Corbin's video. Yeah, it was a good video, and I'm glad that he had me give my 2 cents on it as well. So, yeah, if you've seen that, you know that I've also been pretty fatigued on, things like Donald Trump and stuff like that and all this fucking shit that is just, it all just seems like theater in a lot of ways, which, to be fair, there was like, when I got really into conspiracy theories, which again, the difference between a conspiracy theory and reality is 6 months, right? um, that's the joke, right? When I first started looking into shit like that back in the day, I came to the conclusion that everything was theater and that there weren't any real parties or politicians. And for a while there, Trump gave a little bit of false hope. I do still think that there was a time when he might have actually genuinely meant what he said. But no matter what, whether he did or not doesn't matter anymore, because at this point he's compromised. Like, the only people that I hear like even like giving support are people who are just like, the trust the plan, like just believe everything he says types, which is a shame. Um, Thoughts on what actually happened to Trump in Butler, PA after the last 2 months? Okay, I probably got to skirt this one carefully because I don't know what YouTube's thoughts are. I definitely think, it did happen, right? The shot to the ear. Now, as to whether or not there was any amount of, what's the word I want to use here? Plotting or coordination, I think that it is possible. And I think that there are several possibilities with that. Now, the diehard Trump supporter is going to tell you if there was any coordination, that it was done by the opposition to try and silence him. Which, sure, that's a possibility. But the cynic is now going to say something like, maybe he did that in order to gain the power, right? Because he gets the support after the earshot. Maybe it was coordinated by him. I'm not saying this is the case, YouTube, just to be clear. I'm just saying it is possible. It is certainly theoretically possible. Now, I'm not just saying this to cover my ass. I don't know. But there are things that it starts to make you start asking questions. And when you start, and right now with how much Donald Trump has been like, hey, stop asking questions, that just makes you start questioning everything the guy's ever said. I think that for right now, I lean more towards that was as it seemed. However, I am open to the possibility that there was a staged element. Again, I am not asserting anything. I don't know. Maybe. But, see, what I think happened is they got some sort of way that compromised him sometime this year. Starting with the Iran shit is when I really started to notice shit seeming odd. And so, I'm like, maybe they got some sort of dirt on him that they're blackmailing him with. Maybe they got some sort of dirt that they manufactured but is convincing. Again, I find that less likely, but again, that's like the really copy way to look at it, right? I'm not MAGA anymore, but I definitely think his purpose is to put the right ideas in people's heads for later and not actually do anything himself. I mean, yes, here's the thing. I think I would still say I am MAGA, but I'm not a Trump supporter. Like, I think that a lot of the ideas that were put forward with it are good, but the problems are, again, Trump himself was not the guy. Like, he's just, right now, he seemed like the guy. So I'm hoping that the movement that's got the ball rolling now, and people are starting to notice things more, and people are starting to address things more, and like, I do think that the culture is shifting. Now, there is a cynical part of me that's all theater to kind of placate people and make them comfortable and, complacent. So there is a cynical part of me of that, but with it shifting, I do hope that does mean that there is going to be a guy who is the guy trademarked down the lines. And the problem is you can't just rely on one person because you have to follow ideas and not people. And that's the mistake a lot of people get into with these cults of personality. Like, that's the problem with people getting so into Trump the person rather than the ideas that he was putting forth. Because he put forth a lot of good ideas. He actually put forth some bad ideas too. Like, that's another thing that gets glossed over. Like, even in the things he was saying, I obviously didn't agree with absolutely everything. But I agreed with a lot of what he said and what he ran on. And again, even in this current state, like, I think that a lot of the actual problems I have with him now, I would have had with anyone else who won. The problem is if this guy is supposed to be the outsider going against the machine, it's disappointing that he's actually not, that he's just in there with it. But in addition to the possibility of blackmail, there's also the possibility of, power. Like, maybe they offered him power and that sort of bribery worked. There's all sorts of possibilities, and if we just go down theorizing and speculating, we could be here all day because there's so many different things it could be. Thoughts on J.D. Vance? I've never heard you mention him before. I loathe him personally. Um, I don't have a super strong opinion of JD Vance. Right now, I don't much care for him simply because it's the same reasons I have issues with Trump. There were moments where I thought that he might actually be kind of, not too bad. Like the Zelensky interview, for instance, I thought he did really well. But at the same time, I think JD Vance could just be a really good chameleon who like takes on whatever role he needs to make it like to save face with whoever's kind of puppeteering him at the moment. So I don't think JD Vance is the guy. To be fair, there are very few people that I would want to be the guy. And like I mean, look, it's like I was saying the other day. Like I was talking to Corbin in DMs, and I was like, I think if there were anyone who would make me vote for president again, because that's the thing is Trump is the only time I voted was in 2020 and 2024. Those are the only two times I've ever voted. And I did vote in midterms and stuff too. But that was the first time because I didn't believe in voting when I was a young adult because I was again very cynical and still am. But I thought I'd give it a whirl and see what happened, right? So there's only a couple of people that I think could really make me care to vote again, and this might sound cringe with some of these, so bear in mind this is just my current thoughts. But Kanye West, I'd probably vote for him. He's a little fucking crazy, but we might need a little fucking crazy. The next one would be Tucker Carlson, and again, some people might say he's a Fed. He seems pretty genuine to me, but again, we'd have to see if he actually were to run. Alex Jones, I think I would easily vote for Alex Jones. But again, the problem is Alex and Tucker, as far as I know, wouldn't even want to run. And there's like people who will say they're controlled opposition or they're feds and shit like that. I don't know. Doesn't seem that way to me. I do think Alex has done a little bit of coping with the whole Trump fallout, but I do think he has largely still been on point, just with a little bit of copium sprinkled in here and there. But, it's understandable because it is a pretty massive disappointment. But like I said, there's very few people that I would see myself actually voting for. Tucker Carlson's speech at TPUSA was so incredible. I agree. I thought that speech was great. I was surprised TPUSA let him say that, with how much of a fucking shill for Israel Charlie Kirk is. And it's funny too, because Charlie Kirk for a second seemed like he was actually going to be like right for once. Where like what I mean by that is there was a moment where Charlie Kirk was also pushing back on the Epstein stuff, but then he clearly got the call and said, "I'm just going to trust my friend. I'm going to trust my friends in like Trump." And like, okay, Charlie, okay, like let me be clear. I have never liked Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is a fucking idiot. I do not like him. Because again, he is just a pawn for the Republican establishment. And again, I don't like establishment, whether it be Republican or Democrat. So obviously I don't like Charlie Kirk, but there was like a second there where it seemed like, okay, maybe he's going to come around. Nope. Next day, he's like, nope, I'm not going to talk about it anymore because he got the call, right? And there's a few others that seems to have had happening too. Trump seems to be calling journalists and getting them to back down on criticizing it. What do I think of Benny Johnson, if you've heard of him? I've seen clips of his that I liked back a while back, but didn't Benny Johnson kind of go through a similar thing where he was pushing back really hard against the Epstein stuff, and then suddenly it seems like he got the call? You ought to see Charlie Kirk on Fox News yesterday. It was so terrible. That doesn't surprise me. I'll give him props for trying to like own it with like the South Park parody they're doing of him with Cartman. I think it's a weird choice to make Cartman Charlie Kirk. Because again, it's funny. South Park, I think, has declined in a lot of ways, and there has been a lot of things that have been better in like these last like 2 to 3 seasons than season 20 or season 24. But all these people acting like it's being masterful is fucking stupid. Thoughts on Gypsy Crusader? I don't know a whole lot about him. I've heard he's kind of lolcowy. I've only really seen like Perfect Citizen like talk shit on him on Twitter, so I don't really have an opinion on Gypsy Crusader, so I don't know. Apologies if that's a disappointing answer, but I haven't really looked into him. But what was I talking about before that? Oh yeah, South Park. South Park now is still like a hollow shell of itself that's still kind of out of touch. Because here's the thing, Charlie Kirk is the easiest fucking guy in the world to make fun of. I feel like South Park's not going to make fun of him for any of the real reasons, because guess what? They can't, because Paramount has all this shit against anti-Semitism. Like, Charlie Kirk's not gonna get made fun of in any real way in South Park. But again, it's a weird choice to have Cartman be Charlie Kirk, because again, why would Cartman be the shill for Israel, right? I guess if they're going with the thing that he's trying to bring the concept of woke started in the new episode, which again, I think, I don't know, I don't think they're doing that. I think that's giving them too much credit continuity wise, because they've clearly shown that they don't give a shit about continuity right now. But like in, for instance, in Cupid Yee from season 26, they had Cartman get mad that Cupid Yee had become anti-Semitic, and it's like, hold on a second, why the hell is Cartman taking issue with that? You know, Cartman, who literally started like the whole Nazi rally in the town, like what the hell? Like it just seems completely out of character. Like, I don't think they give a shit about actual characters anymore. They care about mouthpieces disguised as characters. South Park's so cooked. Shit's just gonna replace Stephen Colbert. I mean, yeah, that's the other thing is they tried to run with that dumbass narrative that Colbert got canceled because of like Trump or something, and it's like, look, I could see Trump being that kind of petty and doing something like that, but if you're gonna pretend that late night talk shows that all have just been parroting the same points for fucking years at this point are still profitable, then you're fucking retarded. Like, that's obviously like taken down. I didn't care about South Park anymore. It's not funny. Well, you shouldn't. Long time. Like, I think the last like season that I would call like there's been little highlights here and there that were okay. But like the golden age of South Park is seasons 5 to 15 easily. And I love 1 through 4 as well, don't get me wrong. It's just 5 to 15 I think is when it really came into its own. And then I think 16 through 17 were still pretty decent. Or sorry, 15 through 17 were still pretty good. Yeah, no, I like season 15 as well. I'm not saying season 15 is bad. I'm just saying that like 5 to 15 is like the golden age. Like, that's peak South Park. 15 is still really good. And I would still say 16 and 17 are still pretty fucking good too. 18 is fucking trash because it's fucking boring and forgettable. 19 is a hell of a lot better. You don't like 4 much? I mean, that's fair. I do think it does get carried by 200, 201, and the Coon Saga in my book. But anyway, 17, or sorry, 18 was bad. It was forgettable. 19 was better. 20 was abysmal, fucking terrible. Like, just like 3 jokes for the entire season, making it into one big 10-parter. And then season 21 was marginally better than that. 22 was marginally better than that. Season 23 had like maybe 2 episodes that were worth watching. Season 24 was just 2 specials that were both about COVID, and it was really bad and boring. Especially since that was all they did for that year was 2 specials. Then they did 2 more specials on Paramount that weren't considered part of the season, which is fucking stupid. And then, 25 was boring, but better than 24. Season 26 was actually pretty decent. And then this new one, again, the first episode, there are things to like about it. It's not the worst in the world, but I definitely don't think it's the resurgence people are treating it like it is. Let's see. I love your old-ass South Park videos in like 2020 where you were still coping. Oh, yeah. Before I had actually accepted that season 20 was like bad, or before I had accepted that the show was bad. Like, my initial review, like, I did a review of season 20 back in 2016 when it came out, or 2017, no, it was 2016. And it is one of the worst South Park videos I've done, because I was still criticizing it, but I was actually trying to say that it was like still good and that people were too harsh on it. If anything, people aren't harsh on it enough. Like, I was way off base with that. I don't understand why Paramount took off all the seasons. So Paramount is getting like they're cutting out a shitload of episodes for anti-Semitism, which there's a lot. Like, for instance, canceled Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh. Like a bunch of classic episodes just poof gone. Because they got to try and memory hole it. Because that's the thing is like everything acts like we got to like hold these stupid, retarded new modern standards, which we shouldn't even have. Like, that's the part that frustrates me so much, is so many people just accept, oh, well, the times are changing, Oh, get out of the new lane if you're in the way. Like that really awful Bob Dylan song. Don't criticize what you don't understand. I fucking hate that song. I always use that song as an example of what I fucking hate about it because the lyrics are so bad. But like people just think that change for the sake of it's for the sake of change is somehow magically good. Whereas again, change can be bad, change can be good. It's often bad. Like that's the thing is they try to straw man that, right? Where they're like, oh, these people are just afraid of change because they're so old fashioned. It's like, no, there are things that work, and there's a reason that things are the way that they are in some cases. There are certain things that are in our nature. Matt Stone being Jewish is so essential to South Park's humor. Them taking that shit away is so tone deaf. Well, yeah, that's the other thing is I was like, why are Trey and Matt putting up with this? Do you remember the fucking huge fight that they had with fucking Comedy Central over 200 and 201 getting pulled? Like, it was a big deal back then. And now I don't think they care anymore. Do you think of South Park's first three seasons? I think they're really underrated. I agree 100%. South Park seasons 1 through 3 are actually really good. I love the small town feel. I love some of the cryptid stuff in it, right? Like you got the aliens, you got Scuzzlebutt. Like there's a lot of like fun things in the early seasons that are very, very tonally different than the later seasons. So yeah, I still think seasons 1 through 3 are fucking amazing. Like, in fact, one of my favorite episodes is from season 2, Chicken Lover. It was in my top 10. I can't remember where because it's been a while since I did that video, but Pink Eye is still top 5 episodes for me. Yeah, Pink Eye's great. I love Pink Eye. Well, that's the other thing, right? Is everyone acts like, oh, South Park always has to be topical. It's like, okay, yeah, tell me what the current day political message of Pink Eye or Jack Officers or fucking Mr. Hank. Merry Christmas, Charlie Manson. There we go. There's one that didn't really have a modern day political slant, right? Seasons 1 through 3 are incredibly cozy, super late 90s. I agree. I love again, even though I say 5 through 14 is the golden age, I am not, trying to downplay 1 through 4 because seasons 1 through 4 are great, and seasons 1 through 3 in particular have a very distinct feel. What just fell? That was my controller. My Master Chief controller, which has a broken right bumper, hence why it's not been in use for a while. It's a good controller, though. Wish you could just replace the fucking bumper, but, can't just do that. Gotta replace the whole fucking thing, right? Completely different tangent, but there you go. I don't know that I really have much else to say. I'm probably not going to go too much longer on this. 1 through 3 you have to watch on the OG DVDs. The HD masters totally screw them up. I think that the HD remasters are fine, but I could see why you'd say that because there is a certain charm in the aesthetic of the original, right? And having it in the original 4x3. And there are certain visual things that were like these weird little visual quirks that don't really exist in the later ones. For instance, in is it An Elephant Makes Love to a Pig? The one where they splice, I think it is An Elephant Makes Love to a Pig, where they create the clone of Stan, and there's a scene where Stan, like Shelly picks up Stan and throws him, and he's just in a puddle of water in the original version because they deleted the scene where Shelly repeatedly lights him on fire and then puts it out with water, and so he's just in a puddle of water for no reason. They removed the puddle of water from the HD one, so that's a weird visual quirk that is like a nice little piece of trivia in the older version that people wouldn't even see in the new one because they removed it because the scene was deleted. Like when SpongeBob people overreact by acting like season 4 and 5 is so awful and horrible. I mean, yeah, no, seasons. I'll take it a step further. I tend to defend SpongeBob season 6 and 7. One Course Meal is a great episode. Everyone acts like it's like one of the worst episodes. I fucking love that episode. People are like, oh, it's too mean-spirited. Plankton suffers for no reason. It's like, yeah, that's why it's great. It's fucking dark as hell. He literally tries to end himself at the end of the episode by laying down in front of a bus. It's fucking dark. But yeah, I think that's really all I have to say. This is, I think, one of the better Reddit I've done in a while because I actually had a topic in mind and I've been relatively engaged with the chat. So I'm probably gonna wind this one down. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, internet anonymity I think is really important to push back against, censorious regimes. And when people say censorship is not a slippery slope, they're fucking stupid because it absolutely is. So it is, the internet I think is kind of dying in a lot of ways. Because the old ways of the internet have largely been like completely like flipped on their head, and everybody has to act like the edgy kind of shit that was put out back in the day is horrible and horrific. Again, these people they would have their fucking heads spin if they saw some of the shit that used to be allowed on Newgrounds back in the day and stuff like that. Like the internet used to be pretty fucking filthy and like fucked up and edgy. And a lot of things have been scrubbed. And I've gone on and on about censorship and shit before. And like I said, I am winding this down, but I guess my key premise and key takeaway is I don't like all these new concepts and ideas being pushed to try and restrict the internet. I think it is never a good idea, and I think please think of the children is a terrible argument that manipulative people use all the time. But that's all I really have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one. Toodles. Come on, let me end the stream, damn it. Let me end the fucking stream. Let me end the damn stream. There we go.